Hi guys, Christy from Worldschool Chronicles. Today I want to talk about maintaining friendships. So before we started world schooling, I didn't really think about maintaining friendships because my kids make friends just about everywhere we go. And then we started traveling and reality set in. So we had to make a plan. My son was 11 and he makes friends anywhere he goes. So as soon as we got there, he had friends and he was happy. He didn't really, he would talk about his friends back home and, we would talk to them on Facebook, video chat and Skype and stuff once in a while, but he really wasn't yearning for them. But my daughter, on the other hand, was having a hard time. She was 13 and she's shy and she doesn't want to try another language because she might get it wrong. And so we set up a Facebook account for her and we locked it down so she didn't have a wall, nobody could post on her wall and nobody could add her. We added her friends and her family and relatives and things, and she would chat with them on Facebook and video chat and Skype and that kind of thing. We got her a phone and she had WhatsApp, and so she would call people through Wi-Fi on WhatsApp. She would email some of her friends. We also sent letters and cards and stuff to friends and relatives back home and all over, and we would get them to send us stuff. So we've had a lot of couch surfers over the years, and some of our couch surfers would send us things and that sort of thing. And then, but for my little ones, what's really worked well for us is I bought white pillowcases and collected photos of friends and family and people that were important to them. And I tried to get a photo of them with the person. And so I got iron-on photo paper, and so I put it through the printer and it prints the photo on this iron-on paper. And I just made like small photos, and so I've ironed on these photos onto this pillowcase so that it's easy to travel with. We can fold it up, but it's like a photo album while we're traveling. And so as we're going to bed, we say, oh look, there's grandma, oh look, there's auntie, oh look, there's your cousin. And they really enjoy that, and it keeps them fresh in their mind, so they don't forget people. And then if we meet special people along the way, which we do, my 6-year-old has a real knack for finding grandmas and grandpas along the way. So we try and add, grandma or grandpa. He had a older man where we were last year that he really fell in love with, and the man really fell in love with him. And his name was Antonio, but Chesney called him Tona. And every morning Chesney would go for coffee with Tona, and, they would sing and play and hang out together. And if ever you couldn't find Chesney, he was over at Tona's watching TV with him. So I got a picture of Chesney and Tona and I ironed it on his pillowcase. So now at night, he says, look, there's Tona. So it works really well. And then, so another thing that we tried to do was we tried to schedule times. So me as the parent, I would email or contact the parent of the child that my kids wanted to talk to and say, look, we're here right now. My kids would like to talk to your kids. Can we arrange a time to Skype for them? We're this many hours difference from where you are. So, could we arrange a time and a day? And usually the mom will message me back and say, of course. And we'll arrange a time and a day, and we'll make sure that if we don't have internet in the house, that we are, at an internet center for that time for them to Skype. Another thing that's really, really saved my life for this is we slow travel. So we're in one spot for about 6 months, sometimes a year. And that's really helped my kids for maintaining friendships. So we were in the Dominican Republic for 13 months. And so my son and my daughter were able to meet kids in our neighborhood. Okay. You're able to settle in, and the kids were able to make friends with the neighbor kids and really connect with them. And that was important to them because, like, they may be missing their friends at home, but if they can make friends where you are, then that's good too. So they weren't focused on the friends they were missing at home because they were busy playing with the friends that they had where we were. And they knew that when we went back home, they would see their friends back home. And now, the only problem with this now is, so we stayed, for instance, in the Dominican Republic. Well, now, no matter where we go, the kids ask, you know, so we've been to Vietnam, we've been to Dominican Republic. And so now the problem is that, you know, the kids will say, well, when are we going to visit my friends here? You know, can we go back and visit my friends here? So it just means that you have to revisit places. But it works really well for us, slow travel, so that the kids can make friends. Another thing that you can do is if you seek out the expat area in wherever you're staying, if there is one, even if there's not, look around. There may be classes that your kids are interested in, like acting or singing or, you know, karate or something like that. And they can meet kids through that, and they can maybe not meet a best friend, but meet kids who are their age and are interested in similar things that they are. So when we first went to the Dominican Republic, before we left, I found this thing online, and it was for a singing and acting class. And so both the kids were in that, and they met some friends. And it was nice because we didn't know anybody when we first got there, and it was nice for them to meet some other friends. They lived a very different life than we did, but it was still nice. So Danika's friend would call sometimes and say, you know, do you want to go to the beach? And we would just go as a family and meet them at the beach so her and her friend could hang out. And Axel was friends with her little brother. So it made it nice because we could just go to the beach and the kids could hang out and play and have fun, and then we could go home. So part of that was me facilitating, and part of that was my kids coming out of their shell and learning how to, you know, interact with people. It took a while for my daughter to get over her fear of speaking another language and being afraid of people laughing at her. So for her, she had to get over that. And finally, one of the kids in the neighborhood that hung out at our place, that was friends with my son, he said to her, "You speak fine. Your Spanish is fine. Nobody is going to make fun of you. Just go out and talk to people." So he took her outside and introduced her to some of the girls, and then they became friends. But she really had to get over her fear of saying something wrong, you know. And so that really helped. And I think me modeling, going out and being not outgoing, but going out and talking to the neighbors and trying to be a part of the community really helped my kids to see that, you know, you have to put yourself out there in order to have friends and be a friend, you know. So for me, it started with I made supper one night, and I brought some supper over to a neighbor lady that I had just met. She's Colombian and super sweet lady, and so I brought a plate over for her. And then it just started that she would bring a plate of lunch over for me, and so I would bring a plate of supper over, and then we became friends. So sometimes it's that, us modeling, and sometimes it's our kids. You know, we have to trust that our kids are going to make friends. And for me, I think it's easier for them to make friends if you're not moving every week or 2 weeks, because it's really hard for kids to connect and then move. And one other thing that I really noticed was my 2 older kids, who were 11 and 13 when we went on the road, they got so close. Like they weren't too bad before, but they were really close after, because they were always together and they were always doing things together, you know. So because when you're in a foreign country, not everybody understands your culture, not everybody understands, you know, the things that you know. So for them it was easy, because they would say, you know, like, hey, you want to go play this? And it's a game that's, you know, predominantly from North America or predominantly from Canada, you know, or some game that they had made up with their siblings when they were little and they'd been playing ever since, but nobody else understood. So that was good for them, and they really got to be really close from that, and I really appreciate that about our travels. So in closing on maintaining friendships, try and use as much technical stuff as you can, because it really makes it easy. So Facebook, WhatsApp, Skype, what's the one on iPhone? Anyway, the video thing on iPhone. I have an iPhone and I don't even know what it's called. Letters, packages, things like that, and maybe even a small photo album that they can carry around with them. Things like that, things that they can touch, you know. So, and my other piece of advice would be, don't stress about it, because they'll sort it out, and you'll sort it out. Thanks again.